Personally, I would be afraid to tell stories about my insecurities and to have basically all my deep secrets or the things that I'm afraid to tell myself out to the public to know. Something that would be easily identifiable and that might make me look like a bad person, I guess.
I think my fear is always to speak for someone else when I'm making a film about someone else. Even if I involve myself, it is still sort of telling someone else's story. Like my fear would always be twisting the story in a way that could damage that person that I'm filming. And at the same time, maybe we can never really 100% guarantee anyone. I think that the male gaze is everywhere. It's most ruled by white Western males. I think it's everything and everywhere. I was raised by a single mother, so maybe in that sense for me, I'm not intimidated in a way because I know that's a personal level. So at the same time, I don't think that mindset thinking we're dependable on men helps. With that being said, yes, I'm still running up against that. But I think there's this kind of balancing. Thinking too much about male gaze will do the opposite for you. It's a mindset thing. But at the same time, we all should aim for something better.
I think the male gaze has changed in the movies. I mean, compared to, I guess, the 1960s. So I think, if anything, the male gaze is diminishing or becoming less of an issue. I'm happy to be educated if I'm wrong, but I feel like in the future I can only see positive things for women in relation to the male gaze in cinema. I can only see it either being diminished or it being more representative of a respectable way to view women. Roles that showcase like sexual violence against women and then women having to triumph over that. I feel like those kind of films are important to tell because it's just something that women have to deal with all the time, but at the same time, kind of similar to how you may see black males portrayed as gangsters or criminals. Once you portray something in a film, or once you portray it in the media enough times, that is just what you associate that person with. I guess maybe the damsel in distress roles where there are women who have like no agency, women who are there just to look pretty and who are there to just be put into situations that they can't get themselves out of without a man. I think those kind of roles and those kind of situations in films can be retired.
Sometimes when I watch a film which is making a strong statement about women, for instance, sometimes I get that instant feeling of who made this film. And when a man made a film, that always gives me a funny feeling. You never know where it came from and you don't want to judge at the same time. But I always get a funny feeling when a man wants to say something about super female-related stuff. I'm not the kind of person who says like, okay, this person will be cancelled when they did something, which is a bit fragile depending on the situation.
To kind of combat this, we kind of need to see the opposite or the more neutral stance, which would be, I think, women in roles where they don't need to be saved, women in roles where they have platonic relationships with men, like, or platonic relationships in general, where they don't have to be the romantic interest, they don't have to be the warrior princess either. They could just be a character who has flaws and who has positive things and negative things. I think roles like that, where women are seen as less fetishized and idolized and weaponized, I guess. So hopefully we can have roles or situations where women are viewed as people who also share the human experience. That'd be great.
I sometimes worry that in the time we live with a cancel culture, even though I did really do good stuff as well, for example with Jeffrey Epstein, but another time we get so separated, like I'm female and I should probably fight for female rights. Like, it's not so black and white like that. It can sometimes be the opposite of what you want it to be doing. And I feel like people should keep that in mind too. Don't go from one extreme to the other.
Sadly, I do think that trauma is a powerful tool for this because really if things like, use the example of rape, if we downplay how traumatic the experience is, that kind of diminishes it and that makes it less serious. So I don't think removing the trauma is the answer. I think I don't want those to be the only stories being told. So in terms of, so instead of reducing the level of trauma in the films we see, I think maybe if we reduce the number of films where the trauma is the key element, they shouldn't be casual watching, they should be traumatic watching.
To be honest, I only do that by having open, non-judgmental conversations. Often you start to blame someone and they quickly would want to defend themselves, and I don't think that's always the way to go. If you want to reach someone, still depending on the situation, but in general, in terms of male viewers, I think they need to become aware of their own limited views, and that's doable, but it takes time and it's hard for a lot of people. I think that's harder for men to realize because a lot of things for them were flowing and it was kind of built for them. I think it is just to be more aware of their dominance, but I also think that pointing fingers isn't a way to reach people. I think the only way to move forward from there is to still have the open space to talk about it, to don't judge these people.
Well, I think a key thing would be making men feel less like they're the enemy, highlighting more that the system is the enemy as opposed to men in general. So I think from my perspective, if I felt less like an enemy, then I would be more inclined to help. If there was a way for female filmmakers to both highlight their differences and their own experiences as female filmmakers, but also try and bridge the gap in our experiences and try and create some relatability, I think that would be helpful. Make sure that everyone on set feels empowered, regardless of gender. So, of course, with women, I hope to create an environment that lead to female empowerment and female betterment.